All right, can you guys say something?
Hello.
All right, there we go.
Good.
I'm really firing on all cylinders. I'm really killing it. Well, welcome to No Breakaways now again. Zwift racing tips and tricks.
I can talk about the same things again.
I know. I need to figure out a way to do is to listen to the show at the start of it so I can hear what we sound like. Because last time Jackie had some sort of weird audio thing happening.
Maybe we can dub
Like,
over. We can dub over the content in post.
It'll be like
we can just-
Godzilla. It'll be like Godzilla. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
we
my
talked-
gosh. Yeah, and really we were just covering how amazing Jordan and Jackie are. That's the main thing.
Yes. I gave lots of insight about how amazing I am at useless things.
Yeah.
just lots of ego boosting.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Anyway, I did all those amazing things in preparation for a Europe race that I was supposed to be doing right now, and got sick and did not go. So now we're just recovering, riding on Zwift today, as we previously mentioned.
BMTR or something? Or Audax? No, the Audax one. AHR Audax.
No, I just did the bacon rolls ride
Oh,
it's like,
yeah, okay.
it's all, and it keeps me in line. I can't go too hard, so yeah. So yeah, back on the horse and getting ready for some gravel business in the coming months. So yeah, exciting to try that, because yeah, road racing just hasn't been very kind to me this year. My body hasn't been very lucky when it comes to getting to these races healthy. So yeah.
So I had this this thought, Jordan, and you're gonna immediately tell me it's a bad idea, and I'm really glad you're going to. I know you guys do your training camp out in North Carolina, and I'm gonna be living in North Carolina. So I thought I should do my first ever group ride with a literal professional team.
Oh yeah, well that'll go well, because the first group ride I did with my professional team, there was 2 crashes, including the one that busted my arm.
That was your first group ride with them? What I figured is
Yeah.
I would come on an easy day and just ride at the very back and hope that I
Yeah.
could hang on. And then we could film it for No Breakaways. It'd be amazing.
For sure, good content. Except I've informed them that I will never set foot in North Carolina again, just because of the bad juju.
Dude,
So
just come on out, say hi.
yeah. I mean, I think we should go. You're going to Raleigh, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that would be a better place to have a training camp. Actually, like Winston-Salem wasn't super awesome, so yeah, I think the Raleigh area is pretty sweet.
Let's do it, buddy. Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right. So, Jackie, what have you been up to? I was commenting before the show that I was like, Jackie, are you like not training? Are you not on Strava? And she informed me she's not really on Strava. She's too good for us plebes on Strava. Jackie, what have you been up to?
So I have largely been up to settling into my new job. I am finally into radiology. So I'm a first-year radiology resident at WashU in St. Louis, which means I know very little and need to study a lot. We also moved houses last month, and there were not one, but 2 record-breaking rains this past week. So I have also been dealing with flooding in the basement. I mean, this is my off season, so being in.
So that's what you need to do with your time is bucket out the basement.
Yeah, unfortunately. We're actually doing some more fun projects as well. So we are actually going to be turning the basement into a dedicated pain cave. So we actually ran a dedicated mini split down to the basement. So it's going to have dedicated cooling to get down to the 64 degrees that I like to train and race at. None of this 72 is good enough. And we're also getting, we're getting about 300 pounds of gym flooring delivered tomorrow.
Real? Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to be rolling that in, putting our weight rack up, and then getting the rest of the basement wired for overhead lighting and an electrical outlet for a treadmill. because I was once a multi-sport athlete, and if I ever want to get back down to running weight, that means I actually need to run and not do so outside because my ankles like to twist when I do that.
Yeah,
And also because
running is good for the body weight, though, isn't it? I always, even if I go in the off season and transition from 20 hours of cycling to like 5 hours of running, I'll lose weight. I don't know why. It's magical. Get that? Yeah.
it's fantastic. And like Rick, it's very easy for me to tag on 2 minutes to my run if there's a goal at the end. And when I run inside, very often that goal is just the end of a Netflix show.
Do you run on Zwift?
I have not run on Zwift, just because I was not set up with Zwift until COVID.
Mhm.
And I didn't have access to a treadmill during COVID. So I will be running on Zwift. I just haven't yet.
And you can start winning races on Zwift in the running and the duathlons as well. This is a real, you can write off the treadmill as a career expense.
I mean, eventually I would get back to running and back to swimming.
Swimming. That's for the birds. I guess it's for the
no, it's for the fish.
I'm trying to get my, so in North Carolina, every neighborhood has like a neighborhood pool, apparently. It's like a thing. Weird they don't have that in Illinois. I don't understand why. For the 1 month you can swim outside. But some of them have Olympic-sized pools, and I was like, that'd be awesome. I'd go swim sometimes, back to my swimming shape from high school.
Can you swim good, Rick?
I was a competitive swimmer. I mean, not good, but I was a competitive swimmer for like 7 years. Yeah. So I was so here's the deal. I was a competitive swimmer, and I started running in high school my freshman year because a couple people on the swim team were like, "This will keep you in great shape for swimming." And I was convinced I was going to make the Olympic swim team, the first 5'7" human ever to do that. And it turns out, from the very first race I ran, the literal first race I ran in running was better than any swim meet I had ever done. I was so infinitely much better at running immediately.
That was me in cycling, because I ran competitively before I bike raced, and the first race was like I came 9th or something, and like the best I'd ever come in running was like 6 out of 14. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah,
I could just run, and so then, I mean, I kept swimming for a while, but then I was just so much better at running that I stuck with running. And I swam through my junior year, but I like the full body workout of running. And what I've determined is I want to lift weights in my head, really. But the thing is, I don't like doing stuff unless there is a way that doing that thing I can compete at. So
do not compete doing weights. I mean, I walk downstairs. Well, now I walk downstairs. Yeah, it's like I compete with myself. I compete with John. So before we took down our weight rack, John had this progressive workout routine, and he really, really wanted to get to the point where he could lift 2 plates on either side. You know, because plates are awesome, and the more big plates you have, the more intimidating it looks. And so this was like the last big lift he was going to get in before he had to take it down to move. He's getting set for his 1 rep max, and he does it, and he has me video it because, you know, it's in your house. You can do that. You can spend as much time resting as you want. You can video, and nobody's there to judge you because it's not the gym. So I'm like, okay, cool. And I have never done this weight before, but it's a competition. So I go and I do that for reps, and I do 5.
Wow.
So
that's a math.
You're stronger than John?
Leg weights, yes.
Oh, okay.
Not upper body, but I spent all of COVID doing single leg and mobility work that I have more mobility at the bottom of my squat, such that if I'm not doing full range of motion, like I do have a stronger squat or deadlift than he does.
Wow. That's heavy stuff. I can probably squat like 2 dinner plates on each side. That'd be good.
I mean, that's why I weigh 170 right now, is because I enjoy.
I lift big weights in my mind.
I just
Like,
want
and
to.
I want to.
I feel like
There's a lot of stuff I want to do in my mind, like, pay my taxes on time, but it doesn't happen, does it, Rick?
I thought you were gonna stop after pay my taxes. That would have been
Oh,
cooler.
they catch up to you eventually.
The thing is, like, I want to join a swim team so I can try to beat people swimming. Just like beating people. I don't have anyone to compete with in weights. And I know,
Yeah.
like, there are some things that I know I will never be super good at. Like swimming, I could be okay at. I was an okay swimmer. I was like firm. Like, I wasn't Jackie, because Jackie's a killer at literally everything she touches. But
No. I am so dreading going back to swimming because I'm going to go back and I'm going to be able to do like a 50.
Jackie,
Like hang on the wall and pant for breath and be like, oh my God, I'm dying. And just be like, hey, yeah, remember when you used to do literally, I don't know, 200 times this in a day and now you're done?
but that's what I mean. You used to swim for Northwestern in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
You'll swim a 50 and be tired, and then like a week later, you'll be killing. I know this because my brother,
like paralyzing shoulder cramps and being like, oh God, I don't have these muscles anymore. I lost them.
I think I could do a really fast 50, like to the bottom of the lake. That's it, though.
Jordan, you're like a one-track person. You're like, I am a cyclist, period.
Oh, well, yeah, I kind of has to be that way if I dabble in swimming and,
We gotta get you one of those like water bikes that has the turban on the back.
Like the weird, isn't there like, isn't that aqua biking it's called? There's like, it's like a
they
thing.
have paddle boats. I used to do that in my grandparents' cottage in the summer when I was training for cycling. I go rip in the paddle boat and see if I could exceed 3 kilometers an hour. They're just not fast machines, no matter how much wattage you have. But.
So there is something that I think is a combination run aqua bike that,
yes.
because the best guy in America's East Sea, this Adam Voss guy, he was like a national champion in aqua bike run or something like that.
No, aqua bike is triathlon without the run, so it is just aqua bike. It is swimming and biking.
I wonder was it? Yeah, it was some like I don't. Yeah,
the best part about this show is we stay on topics where we are experts.
Super, yeah, we are very.
Hey, I'm in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
It's not in Rick's wheelhouse, though.
No.
I'm sure there's an aqua bike.
No, there is. It's a weird thing. If I could pull it. If I was
a lip to go for the water.
If we had a producer for this show, I would have that producer pull up a video of these people doing that. I'm gonna see if I can find it now on Zwift Power. You two continue the show without me. I'm not really that important, anyways.
That's good stuff. What we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about.
Let's talk about Zwift Classics. But you guys aren't even Zwifting. You even know about the classics? What's happening this year?
Yeah, I totally looked at them before you decided we'd have a show today. I totally have been tracking them.
Okay, and so I think the classics is interesting because they changed how last year they did like category 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But so Aquabike, okay, this guy, I looked him up. Former Division 1 swimmer turned triathlete who doesn't like running. He's Aquabike national champion in 2017. Congrats.
But that's what he's talking about. It's not your
thing. I think Aquabike is something different. I think Aquabike, I'm convinced of it. Nope, Jackie's right. Never mind. I Googled it and Jackie's right. This is a good example. This is a good example of me.
We had a rough start with the recording here, but we've really rallied back to a premium level.
I'm not always right, but I'm always sure.
Yes.
Yeah. So, anyways, so the Zwift Classics, they changed the way they do. They're doing like the normal Zwift AutoCat now, which I'm hoping you two are familiar with. They've like introduced us into Zwift. Honestly, I don't really get it. It seems just slightly different than the Zwift Power categorization. But
at this point,
yeah. I mean,
thing with the Zwift classifications and the AutoCat actually goes back to what Jordan was talking about earlier in terms of, he's got this amazing FTP and he can just put high wattages for insane amounts of time. but that's not necessarily what you need to win these races, where you need like that super pointy end power. You need that variability. And that's just not what these categories are based on.
Yeah. Well, it's really interesting. I mean, Zwift in general is like, no, is like your 1 and 5 minute power basically. And that's more or less all it is. Every single big race is that. What's that, Jordan?
Your 15-second power.
Yeah, to win it.
You got to finish.
You know, and it's just like really interesting the way it's set up. And so like the AutoCat, I thought they did AutoCat actually better last year with the 1 through 6 divisions. I raced a few of those. And I think it was like I think it was more interesting. The problem was no one raced in the 1. Like nobody'd show up to some of the top ones. This year, like people are racing the A category, but it's mostly just A's.
Which was, it's always the way it was.
Yeah, like I just don't see a ton of difference between the two.
Yeah, interesting. I guess less sandbagging in theory is the idea.
The thing about it is that's the idea. I'm a C right now in Zwift Power.
Yeah.
You can basically be any cat you want to be depending on what races you pick. So like I raced a B race, I finished with the top pack. We dropped a number of people. I got like 4th in a 35 or 40 person B race as a C, and I averaged 2.7 watts per kilo.
Yeah,
which is
it was a fairly flat event.
It was super flat, right? But like still, AutoCat should not have me as a C. Like I even raced one of the classics races 2 weeks ago. Whenever it went up the reverse KOM. It was the Two Bridges loop, so it went up the first part of reverse KOM, the steep part. And it was 3 loops of that, and I mean, we were all sprinting up that every time, and I stayed on until like the last 3 seconds of the last hill, and then I just like I did that thing where you barely get gapped, and you're like, shit, I'm done. Yeah, I know. Like you're pushing and pushing.
That's when you have to weigh more, and then you just catch up to everybody because you're like, aha, ha, ha.
Jackie,
I am better, way more.
I'm the shortest, heaviest guy on this whole podcast. So
yeah, you could probably just weigh less and not get dropped.
I do need to share this with you. So I was talking with one of my research directors actually the other day, and we got talking around. He's like, I remember you. You talked about cycling on your interview trail. You are way taller than I expected. He's like, aren't all cyclists short? And I was like, most of them, yes.
Yeah. I'm not sure.
Well, like Froome's 6'3". He's tall.
Yeah. Wiggins is big. Yeah, Vinagoo is just a little baby. What a little tiny human he is.
Is he? How tall is he?
He's like 5'8" or 5'9", but like 128 pounds.
Oh man.
So he's just a little, and yet he can ride his time trial bike faster than the big guys. It's a miracle of science and training. Science being the operative word.
I was like, let's move on.
It was a great Tour de France. If you watched any of it, it was.
I never get to watch it, but I look at the results. I just don't have.
It was fantastic.
Yeah, I think the Zwift I love the Zwift Classics. They're actually my favorite thing that Zwift does. I really enjoy them, but I really want to get the matchmaking feature in. So you race against people like you for the course. That would be fantastic. I just cannot get over.
Understand what technology is in the way of that? Yeah.
Well, here's the question. Like, what metrics would you pick for that? Like, would you pick, 3 different metrics per course? Like, all right, this course has a 1-minute climb and a 5-minute climb, or this course is mostly flat, so we're going to focus on 15-second power.
Here's what you do. So I'm going to oversimplify. To answer your question, Jordan, what is standing in the way of it? I honestly think it's just hubris is standing in the way of it. So, like, how many thousands and thousands of data points do we have for each of these courses, right?
Yeah.
You
And
can
for you personally.
yeah, you can easily run AI. I mean, Trainer Road has an AI training program. Like Trainer Road's very sad, but like Swift has tons of people. You can easily run an AI program to
Yeah.
figure out what the course profile is, essentially, like how to be good on a course, right? So to your point, Jackie, maybe it may be an Innsbruck ring. You need who has the best 1 minute and 25-second power, or whatever it is, to get up there, right? Or for Jordan,
Yeah.
it's 1 minute power. For you and Jordan, it's 1 minute power. For me, it's a minute 20. But like, and then you can slot like, oh, like it should be fairly easy to run those sorts of
Well, I think even
calculations.
on a more direct level, like we already rank the difficulty of the races
Yeah.
on Zwift Power, right? Like we for points, and whether it's imperfect or whatever, that's a different thing. And like for each course versus your personal results in the difficulty of those races on those courses, like how many races have you done, Rick? Like hundreds,
Yeah.
right? And so there's data points of how well you do relative to the field on every course already. So like that's got to give you a good starting point.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about all this is like it's so data rich, right?
Oh,
To your point, Jackie, like how do you rank it? I'm not really sure, but they have. You're never going to get more data than they like. More data is not the problem, right? The problem is like
yeah.
making the data work.
Well,
And
and
then,
then I think the question
yeah.
is, once you have the data, once you have those normative points, and you're like, all right, we have, let's say, 20 riders, because that's sort of, I think, the minimum you need for a good peloton, who are evenly matched. I think then the next level is, okay, where do we deviate from that, and how do we develop winning strategies? Like
Mhm.
if everybody's pretty much the same sprinter, the same, like where do you come in? Like, or where can you compensate if you know that you're the weakest 1 minute power of the bunch? Like, how do you sag climb the hills? Where do you sit? Like, all right, I've got weak minute power, but I'm better at 45 seconds. So do I sort of like go to the top, catch the draft, and get brought up?
Well,
Yeah.
welcome to real life road racing and crit racing. Like in real life, people don't get the option to race with thousands of people from around the world. So they're going to the same regional races every year with the same 40 people in every race. And you're all pretty equally matched because you're in the same field every race. And you have to figure out ways to beat these guys. Like I coach people in the 3, 4, 5 fields and stuff. And it's not like they're going to get crazy amounts better, versus the field. They have to figure out ways to win. So I think that's more true to life a little bit. And more, yeah, it's nicer not to have someone blow your doors off or blow their doors off and feel bad about it just on fitness alone.
So love to see, just on another note, the gender differences between courses, because I can absolutely guarantee you that they're going to be different. Between watching the world's courses over the last 2 years, the difference between how the men's and women's field attacked, as well as watching, the difference between the men's and women's fields on RGT for the Echelon Racing League. I think, in many other sports, women tend to, go faster at the long distances, and we almost see this hyper endurance. But in cycling, I think we've actually almost see the reverse effect, where the women's races do tend to have a little more variation in high and low power, and a lower average power overall. So
It's interesting that you say that because I was just looking at, I was doing my research for this show because I'm a professional. I was looking at Eric Schlange. We'd had him on the show. He corrected us. What was the
Schlange, right? We're going to have to go back and watch to make sure. We're sorry, Eric. We love you.
For like 7 years. But he published his speed test with the drafting of the new physics, and not that they're that new anymore, but the difference in wattage savings once you start going faster, like the higher wattages, is pretty pronounced. Like 350 versus 400, you're saving like 50 more watts in the draft. So it could be that men's racing, because we have bigger guys doing those 400 watts in the pack, and the speed is always that few kilometers out an hour faster. The draft is stronger, the bunch is stronger, and it discourages attacks. Whereas the women's is maybe a better happy medium of speed versus draft, and it's way more aggressive and way better to watch. So that's an interesting intricacy of the pack dynamics, I guess.
Yeah, it is interesting. It's interesting too. I was watching the Wednesday Worlds that Nathan Guerra's putting on. He's racing like a race every Wednesday and trying to get other people to show up. And yesterday they were doing the Zwift Classic on the Petite Boucle. I'm gonna get made fun of for how I said that. Yeah, Boucle. There we go. So it was interesting though. The pack kind of broke apart, and somebody had a long range attack that actually worked. Some guy, and it's interesting, like in the A fields, because I was talking to somebody afterwards, and I was like, that would never work in a B field. Like B people will always bring you back, and the power
There's psychology to that, isn't there?
and like the power discrepancy. Like you all can go like 10 watts per kilo for a minute. In B's, I mean,
Just
some of you can, but like some people can go much higher watts per kilo than the normal riding. The A and B riding speed on the flats, like watt per kilogram, is roughly the same. Little bit higher for A, but it's not a lot, right? It's like A average is like 3.7, 3.8 maybe. B's average 3.5.
Breaking down watts per kilo and not total watts, and on the flats that's really important.
Yeah,
because I think the difference between like a lot of A's and B's is just going to be that weight. So it's like maybe on the flats we are just seeing very, very similar wattages, and that doesn't pan out until you start seeing these elevations in courses.
You can starve yourself down to an A if you only wanted enough.
I could, yeah. It's from C to an A in 20 days. I just won't eat.
In 20 kilos.
Yeah, no, I'm not doing that. I'm uninterested in being an A. I have no desire to. I will never ever be an A.
Just for a moment, wouldn't it be sweet?
No, it wouldn't. The different. I've been in shape enough to race with A's a few times, right? Like I could go race in the A fields on flat courses, and it's fine. And then the last kilometer happens.
Yeah, it's rough.
Being at 4.4 even watts per kilogram for your FTP, that doesn't make you an A. What makes you an A is being able to hammer 9 watts per kilogram for a minute at the end of a race, and then 14 watts per kilogram or whatever. Like that's what makes you an A. Not just for like. There's lots of. I mean, the reality is there's tons of B's who could move up to A and meet those watts per kilogram things, but they don't.
You put the short race quadrifecta thing for the new racing scheme in the show notes.
Yeah,
that would be. You could maybe race in the A's on those because there's no time to get tired.
Oh, I could for sure race in the A's on those. A lot of B's could. Did you see that, Jackie? The announcement about.
They're wicked cool. I think these are wicked.
I think they're incredibly painful looking. I mean, it's just like I have, I fully acknowledge the pain that like 5 minutes of, that VO2 max lactate effort's going to cause, and then you want me to sprint on top of it? Like Zwift doing exactly that sort of like highlighting and forcing intermediate sprints and shorter races, and I'm like, this is great, but oh god, that looks so painful.
Let's all three of us agree to do it on Saturday.
No.
This Saturday? I'm working.
No.
Jackie.
I'm going to be reading head CTs and, reclining in my chair with some coffee. So
yeah.
Okay. I can't argue with either of you. Jordan just gave me a flat no.
Yeah, Rick, if you're crazy enough to think I would do that, you need a head CT.
Me and you could race in them, Jordan.
Yeah, and you probably school me.
If I could get to the last 200 meters with you, it would be a fun drag race.
Yes, maybe. Could you get to the
Especially right up
fourth?
the
Could you
alley.
get to the fourth race of the hour, though? I think you're underestimating how
No,
terrible these
no, I
last
cannot.
three.
No, I have. The thing is, no, I cannot. I can get to the last race just really badly. But then,
Yeah,
but yeah, I would.
it would be interesting though. I'd love to watch some of the top guys and gals go at something like
It'd
this.
be super
I
fun.
would love to see it as a team race in the Premier League.
Oh,
Four
it's
in an hour.
absolutely going to be a team race in the Premier League in terms of protecting your final sprinters. And I mean, I think that's where it gets interesting is
Yeah.
who are you going to sacrifice? Who are you going to protect?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, who cares? You can make them all flat. I don't care. By the end of it, if you know Holden has to go for every sprint himself in the fourth race, he's going to be dust. There's no way. Like, there's so much lactate doing that, you know, over and over. I think it would be great. Great. I would love to watch the rider cams during that, especially during the recovery.
How fast are they going to, you know, make the sprints? Are these going to be those true like end race, minute long stand up, give it everything you have? Or are they going to be like the intermediate sprints that we've seen in previous Swift Premier Leagues where everybody's sort of like, maybe I don't go for the first one and it's that one person who tries, you know, gets the free pass?
I think you want to win a race. I think because there's a finish line and it is you've won a race, I think you go full out, or else somebody else is going to go full out.
Yeah.
I think you make it like a double points week or something, so it's super valuable to win them, and everybody just has to suffer and die.
So last year in the Zwift Classics,
you just want to see people suffer.
that's
The
what
more
he's.
people suffer, the happier you are.
Well, I feel like sometimes in the Premier League, like same stuff every week, and like people get comfortable, and you know it's hard, but we don't see these athletes break because it's not a long enough race for them to break. But I think this could break them, and that's always good. You watch the triathlons of the Olympics and stuff, the athletes like completely blown up. That's the best. That's really good.
So I think this brings us to a good point. In CRL and Premier League, what I would love to see is every single week a completely different race format.
Yeah.
Like,
surprise. I think it's great.
It would be so cool to just see like different stuff happening, because there's the bar to experiment in Zwift and virtual cycling, period, is so low. It's so low. Like, it's so easy. If you experimented like this in real life, it's kind of a logistical nightmare. You got to get everybody lined up. To get lined up in Zwift, you just click the button. That's it. And you're lined up.
There'd be so many crashes too.
Hear me out. Zwift Aquabike.
Yes.
Bringing it back.
I love it. I love it. Well, that's what rowing was going to be when they announced that they were coming out with rowing in a month 2 years ago.
Oh my God, the track coach was so excited. And I was like, I still have to get a treadmill.
Yeah.
But we're going to get the treadmill, and I will be ready for that first Zwift Premier League race that has the duathlon. I'm putting it out here. Zwift Premier League, do it. You've got a lot of former triathletes. You've got a lot of former runners.
But don't they already have a duathlon series for you? Like, you could enter. I'm sure they let you enter it, even though you don't have a pro card or whatever anymore. I'm sure you could get into it, being Zwift celebrity Jackie Godby.
Oh. I actually this reminds me of a question that I had for you, Jackie. On Saritz, I was scrolling through your roster the other day, stalking it. You have Morgan Useni, I forgot how to say her name. Is that the former pro runner?
I do not know. I'm going to admit my ignorance, and now I feel terrible.
Okay. That didn't go the way I planned it.
Sorry.
I thought
this continues the theme of well-researched inquiry.
I'm really. This is the best episode that I've really feel like I've hosted.
No breakaways. It won't ever get this good again. So if you're not watching, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
actually, it's the first 12 minutes with no audio.
15 minutes, no audio. You could see our mouths moving. It was great. That's gonna make for good content when I eventually put out the podcast.
So do you want to talk about
some great silly faces?
Talk about what? Yeah, Zwift. Let's talk about working out while So this is an interesting subject. The reason I want to talk about working out in general and biking or Zwifting or whatever while traveling and while moving. So My main man Jordan here travels all the time with bike stuff. I bet you really know it. Jackie has moved 46 times in the past 12 months. I
It
am
feels like it. Yep.
I have to travel a decent amount for my job and I'm moving. And also I'm more like a normie compared to Jackie and Jordan, so I can give more of a normie perspective. We're bringing it back to the fact that I'm the shortest and heaviest on the podcast here with me being normie. So
Yeah,
I want to start out with the least normal of us in terms of traveling and biking, which is Jordan.
sure.
So what
Uh,
tips do you have, man?
well, yeah, well, like the racing trips are a bit different because obviously everything is like catered around you performing and, ultimately, racing well at the end of it. So that kind of travel, you got to be careful in the airport. Like, I don't know, you can eat a lot of crappy food and that, and, just, I've learned over the years to reduce my stress level. Like, just be like, it just will be with all the delays and everything, traveling for races and traveling for anything with that, especially right now, it's terrible. There's a guy, a Canadian rider. I don't know if you saw the story. He traveled to the Tour de France, and they lost. Air Canada lost three bikes that he was going to use for the race, and he still doesn't have them back a month later. Like, this is a Tour de France rider. So anyway, you got to calm yourself and just be like, you have no control over that stuff. But yeah, I don't. I would say that's separate. That's not real travel for real people. But in terms of like moving around and like managing like days on the road in training, like my best advice is to really like step back and not worry about it so much. Like if you're moving, like what is it going to take a week to get everything down there? Just take the time off, like, and try to, you can't get unfit in a week. I don't think you're going to lose a bunch of fitness, but you can get unhealthy in a week. So I try to focus more on my diet, and stuff like that in that time, like flexibility, stretching it out. Like if you're in the car all day, going for little walks and at night and stuff. But keeping the diet clean is the biggest. Like, I guess my best experience with this is like we have a house in Tucson and then we stay up here in Canada in the summer. And that's like a 3-day travel, And the best thing I can do with it is just drive, get the most out of it. I don't try to get in workouts or rides in the mornings or the evenings, like staying in the car.
That's what I was going to ask. So when you travel, Jordan, and I'm interested in Jackie's take on this too. When you travel, do you try to, if you have a long day traveling, do you work out at the end of the day? Or do you try to work out in the
No,
morning, or do you just not worry about it? You just don't worry about it.
I don't do anything. I don't do anything. Like nothing that can be considered endurance exercise. Like if I was traveling for 2 weeks, maybe I'd start to think about it. But a week, I just took a week off for sickness, and I got back on the bike today and like felt a little weird, but the fitness is still there. I feel it's, you're not going to lose that much. But you will get fat if you're sitting in a car all day and just like eating Doritos, because you totally can. You're like, oh, this is super boring. I'm going to have another chocolate bar.
Yeah.
Like, oh, trail mix. We should have trail mix because we're driving and that's energy consumption, I guess. So let's eat 1,000 calories in trail mix. You got to be careful that stuff. Hydration, like just so you're not wrecked when you get back home. I think that's the biggest deal. If I tried to work out on the road on these long drives and then get home, I'd be completely shattered. So I think for me, it's just like rip off the band-aid, get back to it. I don't know about Jackie. She's moved.
What about you, Jackie?
Yeah, so I tend to separate my travel into, and obviously I haven't done this in a while, but travel for races, where again you just have to sort of accept things are out of your control. That one, it's actually a little easier to rest because, I would always go in with the mindset that like I'm tapering, I just need to do a little short tune up. It's easy to throw in like a 1 or 2 mile run, like just do 20 minutes, warm up, do arm circles, like jump in the shower, jump in the pool. That was, traditionally very easy to plan around, particularly if you're going to a place with a race setting. So you have access to the lake, you have access to your bike, and you just have to like mentally put in the 20 minutes of like, I don't have to work out, I just have to make sure that everything's ready. So there was never like a huge mental burden. It was very much the like, oh, I just like to be on my bike and that's cool. In terms of moving and traveling for non-race reasons, that's a very different mixed bag. So I do very much enjoy mixing working out into my travel. So when I go home to visit my parents in South Dakota, I spend a lot of time biking and running outside because that's just fun for me. John and I actually took our honeymoon for our first anniversary. We went to Hawaii and we biked so much outside. And that was just fun. Like we biked and we stopped at fruit stands on the side of the road and we biked up a volcano. And that was just what we were doing. And, you know, there is fitness in there. You know, we definitely did a different type of riding, but it wasn't like, oh, you got to hit your power metrics. You got to get your VO2 for the week. You got to make sure that you're hitting all your different zones. So there's definitely an element of being like, this is good, this is healthy, and just sort of taking the level of almost pathologic control that I think a lot of us like to have, you know, saying, oh, I got to live and die by these metrics, and just saying, like, no, like you're outside, you're getting back in touch, you're enjoying what you're doing. This is good. Like, you are being healthy, you are doing everything you're supposed to do. Like, turn off the diet tracking app for a week. Don't worry what your training peak says. Like, you rode for 2.5 hours today. You're eating mostly plants, fruits, vegetables. Like, you know, that's fine. That's good. In terms of the actual travel days, particularly when I'm moving, I like to practice periodized training. And I'll actually track this with Training Peaks. And I know that me personally, every 4 to 6 weeks, I need to step back in my training. And that can look a variety of ways. You know, it can be, oh, either I take a 3-day weekend where I really just don't train at all, just to get my recovery level back up. And it's, again, hard to do, hard to let go of that pathologic level of control and that feeling that I'm just being lazy. But at this point, I have the experience to know, like, oh, nope, my glycogen levels have recovered. I actually feel great. My muscles have built up. After those 3 days of rest is gonna be like my best week of training in 2 months.
Yeah, you will feel better. I do say, like, so, if you, especially, even if the travel's really oppressive, like if it's a nasty travel, the circuit, like Rick, your move is probably going to be stressful. But like, I think afterwards you'll probably get on the bike and be like, I feel fresh, like I feel punchy.
So that's actually what I try to do for myself, is be like, okay, well, you're moving, you're not gonna, or you're traveling, like, let's take that like planned 3 days or that planned like lower intensity week that you know you have to take every 4 to 6 weeks. Like, that's non-negotiable. And let's just fit it around this other thing that is happening in your life. You know, and so when I moved from California to here, John took my trainer, and I was like, cool, I'm going to have 3 days where I can do absolutely nothing, because that's like the actual airport and new house and no electricity, no Wi-Fi, no everything. But the week before, I didn't have my trainer. So I was like, cool, this is my last week with Mount Rubidoux literally in my backyard. So I'm going to do a crazy bunch of running and some biking because it's hot and the trails are okay around here. But, you know, that's fine. I have a week off to rest my legs, finally got everything set up. And despite the fact that we were still on one fan and with very suboptimal air conditioning, that next week after taking that time off was fantastic training. So just going with the mindset of like, yeah, life throws obstacles in my way, but I can structure this to fit in with my plans and make me better.
So to summarize, just chill, yo. It's going to be fine.
You two have made me feel a lot better, to be honest with you. Because like, I really thought it was going to be like, here's what I do to make sure I work out every single day. So,
Rick, for you,
I
it's
mean,
even
you're
better.
moving. That's a workout. You are literally
So-
lifting heavy things.
So this
and
is what's
putting them down again.
so this is what's interesting.
He's pointing and guys are lifting.
Well, this is what's interesting. No, I'm loading this whole house. You weren't on a pre-call, Jordan. It's the thing, man. But so here's what I do, because I have to travel a decent amount for work too. And one of the things that I've started trying to do when I travel, and this is just like a best practice for me, is this kind of goes with like the no stress idea. Is like, can I get 30 minutes of activity in a day? Right? And setting it that way, because I always say, and like I feel as every day that I work out is a good day. Not like, oh, because I worked out, but like I don't remember a day where I worked out where I've been like, man, that was a garbage day. Like no matter what happens, it just kind of like resets me in a good way. And so when I'm on the road traveling for whatever reason, I try to get 30 minutes of activity. So I was just on vacation up in Ontario, and I brought my bike and my trainer, and some days I would get on, and do a workout that was prescribed. But other days, like we were going out tubing and wakeboarding and doing all this stuff, and I was like, I'm just going to be okay with this, as like I'm getting a lot of activity here,
Yeah.
and like just being okay with, because I'm just the type of person who like I either need to full rest or have a very set routine, or I just fall all apart. Like just mentally, like not fitness wise, I'd be fine. It's just like I got to have a routine one way or
Totally.
another. And so like that helps set me. And this, I feel like it's interesting to hear both of you who are elite level athletes say essentially the same thing. It's like you do have to chill. Like diet is super duper important. Hydration is super important to just keep from feeling like shit, right? Yeah, it's really interesting. But I like the 30 minutes, just like 30 minutes of something, and let's,
And running is great for that. Like you guys are lucky, like being past runners. Like I run and I really hurt afterwards, but like if you can run, I think like even a 20-minute run is enough to get. You actually see a lot of sports directors for pro cycling teams who obviously were mostly pro riders and training 20, 30 hours a week their whole career. A lot of them will get together and run the morning before stages because like it's quick. They don't have time to ride a bike, they don't have to bring a bike with them, but they obviously are probably like you, Rick. They feel better if they do something. So yeah, that's a good one. I'll probably run at some point in my life.
I want to be clear. I get hurt every time I run now. Every time.
Oh, good. Well, getting old sucks, I guess. I
Yeah.
definitely do, and I'm 10 years younger than you. So
Yeah, I would say I'm so glad I'm finally able to run, but I have been working on running since February. Like I started with like not even a mile, and I have been like gradually building up every week with those off weeks like I suggested, and I'm like finally able to run a 10K without stopping.
all of Africa is just laughing at us right now. Like you guys have to like practice running.
My problem is I have something called, believe it or not, it's called old man's calf, where like there's a muscle sheath and it's like too tight, and so it gets like this. What happens is I'll be able to run, and I can run fine. Like I can go out and run, no problem. Like it's something I've always been just able to do. But if I go, eventually this will like seize up, and then I'm hurt for like 3 or 4 weeks, and I cannot run. And that's actually a big reason why I'm on Zwift, is because I kept getting hurt running, and I was like, I don't have time to go to physical therapy. I'm not gonna go get surgery on my calf to try to fix. Like I got 2 little kids. I got stuff to do. I don't know.
And I am such a nerd that I really want to look up the imaging findings of that right now. I'm like, oh,
I am
careful.
I'm saying this partly in hopes that Jackie figures out how to solve my problem. So, because I love.
You know what? I'm on MSK in 2 weeks, so I bet you I will get to see some old man calves.
There you go. Yeah, if you figure out old man, I'm sure there's a real medical term for old man's calf. But when you look it up, if you Google old man's calf, unfortunately, it's not just a picture of me. Jackie's Googling it right now. She's dropping
Yeah,
it in.
safe search.
Yeah.
That's definitely a.
Yeah, it could be something totally weird, but no, it's like it's something. I bet you Jackie is gonna know what it is, and I hope she texts me and is like, Rick, do this, and you'll be healthy forever.
Yep, you'll live forever, and ice cream will magically become the healthiest thing you can eat.
My daughter was just telling me the other day that she really wished that ice cream was good for you, and I was like, you and me both, honey. You and me both.
Welcome to life suffering.
Yeah, I know.
You are now at the age where you can accept that life is cruel. That is it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. Okay, well, so we've been doing the show for an hour and 4 minutes. We've been audible for all of 50 minutes, which is my fault. So next time, let's let's all try to remember to tell me to check the audio settings because I'm a big dummy.
We'll come up with new and interesting ways to have tech failures.
Yeah,
we love for people to say more.
We'll package the audio free stuff into special extra content on our Patreon that we don't have.
Yeah.
And you high end members like Brett can.
Yeah, I thought the Brett Knutson thing didn't even show up. Brett, I said hi to you at the start of the show.
That's good.
And yeah.
You're a super fan. We love you.
Yeah, we love you. Oh, so we got a question from Joe's Guitar Shop, another loyal guy. And so I'm going to ask it because Jackie, I don't remember, we were talking about this before the show. He's asking, do any of us count calories? And I will go first and say, I know Jackie does. That's why I'm bringing it up. We were talking about it before the show. I do when I'm motivated to lose weight, and then I am not anal enough to keep doing it because I don't have that type of personality. But I should, because then I wouldn't backslide. Jackie, you've been doing there she's showing us MyFitnessPal right there. Jackie, tell us about your counting calories and what you're doing, because this was super interesting.
Yeah, so I got put on counting calories about 6 years ago now by my triathlon coach. And it was multifactorial. So even back then, I was bigger than the normal athlete. And my coach was like, we did some metabolic testing. And being an endurance athlete, it's very important that you are able to access fat burning. If you're doing a 4-5 hour half Ironman race, you physiologically cannot burn entirely glycogen for that entire race. You just cannot eat enough. So you need to be able to burn fat. However, when we did the metabolic testing, it's actually a VQ coefficient. It's really cool. They put a mask on you and they measure the ratio of carbon dioxide that you're breathing out. And there was never a point where I was burning more fat than carbs. I like high intensity workouts. I love carbs. And I just never, ever, ever had that crossover point. So, he's like, well, 2 things. One, I never want to tell you to eat less. Like, you don't have the body fat to spare. And if you starve yourself, your performance is going to suffer. But we do need to change your diet in order to get you to this point where your body is capable of using fat for these longer efforts. So that's when I started using MyFitnessPal, just because that training diet is most effective in helping your body transition to that. So I did that for about a year. And we went back, we repeated the metabolic testing, and lo and behold, I now did have this transition point. And it's all documented in my heart rate where it happens. Like I said, it's a very cool setup where now, at lower intensities, I could burn predominantly fat for fuel and stay away from those glycogen stores that I would want to save for later. Since then, I've stayed with MyFitnessPal because I like to do long endurance in sports. I'm perfectly happy going out for a 4-hour bike ride. And after that 4-hour bike ride, it helps remind me, like, yeah, you did a crap ton today. You should eat a crap ton. because previously I'd just been like, oh, I feel kind of like awful. Why? And now my fitness pal is like, you feel awful because you rode for 4 hours and you've had like a banana and coffee. Like, please, dear God.
And so, what are your carb, fat, and proteins ratios, Jackie?
What are your macros?
What are my varies day to day, bruh?
Is that like a bro question? Is this a bro question?
Yeah, totally, bro. What are your macros?
Oh, really? People ask about macros. I'm super in the know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It varies based on what I'm doing at the time. Protein, because my caloric needs go up and down, I just try to get enough protein. And for me, that's a pound per body weight, or 1 gram per pound of body weight.
I was gonna be like, a pound per what? That's the protein.
Yeah, 1 gram per pound of body weight. And that's a little on the higher end, but I like my muscle, and I know that if anything, I tend to slightly undereat. So just having more protein tends to keep my muscle from catabolizing. Fat, I really just aim to have some in every meal for glycemic index. So again, trying to get over 100 grams per day just for, because that prevents a lot more hormonal imbalances, particularly that female athletes are more prone to. There's some good data out there that says sufficient, particularly saturated fat intakes will prevent osteoporosis and will reduce the likelihood of like female athlete triad. So again, not making sure that it's like this percent as much as making sure that I get there.
Okay.
Then carbs vary. I mean, they're fuel, so that's going to vary with what I'm doing. If I'm doing a long 4-hour bike, I'm eating carbs. I'm not like eating peanut butter out of a jar with a spoon. And so that one will vary. And, if I make cookies one day or if I have popcorn, like it's going to change, and that's fine. So try not to be too anal about it and really just use it as a sanity check for what I'm doing.
Jordan, do you do any of this? I feel like you probably just eat as much as you possibly can and you're good.
Not really. I mean, to an extent, but like, I don't know. I used to dither about what I ate a lot more. And then I figured out that I really like eating oatmeal and peanut butter and protein powder with some like frozen berries or something.
That's and literally my breakfast, like every morning, like right there.
You guys like oatmeal?
Rick, I add some Reese's Puff cereal, which is the elixir of life because it is fortified. It's fortified with everything. So basically, I just eat this like oatmeal concoction for breakfast, for lunch, and then evening snack as well. And like,
eat it for lunch unless there are like better leftovers in the fridge.
Yeah, exactly. And the only time I really eat a vegetable during the day is at dinner, and I do eat like a good salad or whatever. But like that keeps me running smooth digestively, and I know that meal is balanced, like carbs, protein, fat, and everything. So I just repeat it, and if I'm doing a big day, I'll just eat more of those things. And so there you go.
That's disgusting. That's disgusting.
Yeah, I know, but it works, man. Like my food life, for someone that eats 5,000 calories a day, my food life is so simple. Just pow in the microwave, Reese's Puffs, done, baby. Light and sweet.
I bet Emily loves living with you, man.
What?
Hey, what are we having for dinner? Do you want oatmeal with Reese's Puffs in it? We got some we can throw in the...
No, dinner is a real well-cooked meal by me every night.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And we have to wrap this show up because I'm already late for that duty.
We do have to. So Joe, you're asking awesome questions. He has a bunch more questions. I tell you what.
Let's use the next show.
So what we're gonna do one of these episodes. We're gonna talk about eating habits and stuff like that. But yeah, I also have to go. It's just me and the kids. Me versus my 2 kids. For the foreseeable future here until we move to North Carolina and can meet up with my wife, who's getting us a house, who's amazing and wonderful. But yeah, we will do a whole episode on the types of stuff we eat. You both can make fun of me. A big staple of my diet, breakfast, lunch, and dinner is ice cream bars. So Not really, Jordan. I'm just messing with you. Well, sometimes after
Good.
dinner, but
They're delicious though.
so
They're
good.
so good.
Dean's ice cream bar. Oh man, we could debate ice cream bar values. Okay, so here we are, Jackie Godby. Look her up. look her up. We got Triantist on Instagram. Jackie, do you got any specific sign-offs you want to do?
Want to give a big shout out to my sponsors, both Noon Hydration, who just sent me more tablets this week. Thank God, Missouri summers are killing me. And also Sarah Snowpins, who I will be racing again with in the fall once that racing season starts to heat up.
September 13th, ZRL starts, Premier League. Here we go. Here we go. Jordan, how about you? The biggest free agent in the game, Jordan Shane. Peak Form Coaching, yeah. I know.
Peakformcoaching.com, Project Echelon Racing. Focus on the peakformcoaching.com. That's how I get paid. So
all right, what so are you are you gonna race ZRL?
Yeah, kidding. No.
Just
I don't think so.
Just no. Your answer is no.
I have to race on RGT with the team, so that'll be me.
Come race on the draft team. I'm openly recruiting you to draft right now, although I don't have the power to let you on draft.
Start the bidding at like some sports drink mix, and like we can work out.
I will send you. I'll send you one SIS gel.
Okay, that's the opening.
That's
bid.
the opening bid. I'm coming in hot. I'm coming in hot. I want to be clear that I have no authorization to get you on the draft team. I'm not able to do that. I'm but a peon. So, but seriously, you would like it. All right. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. All the viewers. Joe, what's up? And thanks Sean, especially for pointing out that we had no audio. It'd be weird to get through an hour 15-minute show with no audio. So
yeah, that was weird.
Thanks everybody. Really appreciate it. We'll talk to you later.